Stalin is often blamed for many sins, and rightfully so. However, during his rule, the Soviet Union truly became a leading world power with a strong economy. And in this video we will discuss the positive aspects of Joseph Stalin's rule, the eradication of illiteracy and the widespread opening of education institutions are perhaps among the best events in the history of the Soviet Union. The campaign to eliminate illiteracy was initiated by the Bolsheviks during Lenin's rule, but reached its peak and was effectively completed under Stalin. The communists inherited a country with an extremely low level of education. After the revolution, only about 15% of the entire population of Russia was literate, and in some regions such as Central Asia, literacy rate were as low as 5–6%. When the Bolsheviks came to power, one of their first programs was the mass eradication of illiteracy across the country. Adult schools were opened, and people were compelled to receive basic education. The result of such policy was almost the complete elimination of illiteracy throughout the Soviet Union. Within a single generation, the catastrophically illiterate population became universally educated. By 1939, literacy in the Soviet Union reached a level of 90%. Overall, education in the Soviet Union under Stalin was at a relatively high level for that time. Hundreds of schools and vocational colleges were opened. Another successful and critically important reform by Stalin was industrialization. The process began in the 1930s and became a key factor in the development of the Soviet Union for decades. Since the establishment of the USSR, the country was lagging behind the leading nations of the world by 50 to 100 years. Even the Russian Empire did not have a particularly extensive industrial base, and what little industrial capacity existed was destroyed during the Civil War. The main goal for the Bolsheviks became the build-up of military strength and the creation of a completely independent economy, separated from the rest of the world. This marked the introduction of the 5-year plans in the Soviet Union, with all resources and human efforts directed towards industrial growth. During the first 5-year plan, the Soviet Union achieved tremendous growth in industrial production. On average, it doubled, and for example, automobile production increased 29-fold. In essence, within 5 years, the country transformed from an agrarian to an industrial state. The Soviet Union particularly stood out during the Great Depression in capitalist countries, which coincided with the first 5-year plan. No one can deny that the Soviet Union under Stalin's rule made the greatest contribution to the victory in the World War II. Despite suffering initial defeats, the Red Army not only managed to repel the enemy's forces, but also launched a massive counteroffensive and liberated half of Europe from the Nazis. All of this happened under Stalin's leadership. While his personal contribution to the war may be subject to debate, it cannot be denied. The victory in World War II is closely correlated with the aforementioned industrialization. It was thanks to successful industrialization that the Soviet Union was able to rearm its army and withstand the enemy's onslaught. For the first time in Russia, social protection for all citizens of the country was introduced under Stalin. Numerous benefits and compensations were provided. For example, in case of disability, allowances and privileges were granted. Essentially, the country guaranteed employment, and unemployment was non-existent. This was the essence of a planned economy, which the Soviet Union adopted under Stalin, as well as free healthcare and education were introduced. Cultural centers began to emerge and so on. After the war, social programs expanded even further. By the way, the constructions of Khrushchevka housing projects started under Stalin. The development of nuclear weapons may be a controversial advantage. However, it was the possession of nuclear weapons that became the main deterrent factor against full-scale war. At the end of World War II, the United States was the only nuclear power. However, the Soviet Union was also actively developing nuclear weapons. After the war, German nuclear specialists were captured by the Red Army, which accelerated the process of creating nuclear bombs. Thus, the first nuclear bomb was successfully tested just 4 years after the war ended, effectively guaranteeing the Soviet Union protection against invasion by Western countries. In addition to military potential, nuclear energy began to be used for power generation. The first operational nuclear power plant in Obninsk was opened in the Soviet Union in 1954. That's it for now, don't forget to like and comment this video. Thank you.